Hello, everyone. This is Tony Richards. We're going to talk about change. Change. Oh, some of you felt pain as soon as I said the word change. Okay, but I want to talk to you about the fact that all leaders who are growing embrace change. Let's just talk about it for a minute. Let's talk about change. Number one, I think change is very interesting. And the reason I think it's interesting is because it's ongoing. Change is all around us. Some change is very predictable and we've accepted it as normal. Let me give you an example of a change we accept as normal. We accept change as normal in the seasons. So in nature, we know that there's going to be a spring, there's going to be a summer, there's going to be a fall, and there's going to be a winter. And so we might complain about it a little bit, but we don't fight against it because we just accept it. There's going to be a change. So in the spring, we think about we've got to start watering our lawn because when the summer comes, it's going to be hot. And if we don't water our lawn or if we don't turn on our sprinkler system, then our grass is going to die. So we do preventative measures with change that we accept. We know that in late fall, and we are going to start experiencing colder temperatures. So we get out our long sleeve shirts and our coats, and we put our summer stuff and our shorts away because we just accept that the change is inevitable, it's going to happen, and we just take it as normal. So PCs, mobile devices, credit cards, debit cards, these things have all changed the way we purchase items. And we've bought into it, right? And so most people buy online these days. Most people use credit cards. They use debit cards. They purchase things that way. They have things sent to their house other than by normal mail. They have things delivered by UPS and FedEx. And these processes for getting things to us and making purchases have all been parts of major changes in the last 10, 15, 20, 30 years. And we've just accepted them and embraced them. Now, number 2 point I want to make today is that as a leader, you've got to make the decision how you're going to handle change. You've got to make the decision intentionally on how you're going to handle change. Leaders who refuse to accept and be proactive about change are not growing. Leaders who are not proactive about change and will not accept change are not growing. They're trying to keep everything the way it is. And one thing we know for sure is things are not going to stay the way they are. They're going to change. So we're bucking against that change when we're not willing to accept it and be proactive about it. Leaders who don't accept change are drifting backwards. Their companies are slowly but surely drifting backwards because the world is making transformational change that's causing the world to pass us by. I have a client in Springfield who told me, I don't buy into all this social media and I'm not going to participate. And I said, well, here's the thing. The whole world is going that way and the whole world is participating. And one thing I know as a leader is if that's the way the world is going, I'm going too. Save me a seat. I don't want to be left behind. I don't want my company, my organization, my leadership to be antiquated because I just didn't want to embrace the new technology or the new change. Number 3 thing about thinking about change is past accomplishments do not guarantee or predict the future. Sometimes we get really comfortable with the way we've always done things, and we've had some accomplishments in the past doing them that way, and we think the future is going to continue just like the past. But there is no guarantee that the future is going to be anything like the past has been. So just because we have a positive, good track record in the past makes us feel good, it makes us feel confident, but that is no guarantee that we're going to have a positive and productive track record in the future based on the way the world is changing. So we have to adapt, we have to accept, we have to embrace, and we have to promote change if we want to continue to have a great track record in the future, because we can't do things an old antiquated way and have it link up properly with a brand new way of doing things in the future. Success in the future for you, are you listening to me? Are you looking at me now? Success for you as a leader in the future depends upon the rate of change that you're willing to accept. the rate of change that you're willing to accept. We all have to learn how to ride the wave of change like an expert surfer. But now what I want to know is what's changed around you since 1990? Now, for some of you others, I want you to make a list of what's changed around you since 1980. You can do this with any year possible. Some of you more mature leaders can go back even further. But I think it's a good exercise for us to stop because the world goes so fast and we adapt so fast to those things that we like, we don't notice the rate of change, right? You don't notice that you used to talk on a phone that was this big and now you talk on one that's this big, right? You don't think about it, you don't contemplate it, you just participate. But think about the last several years in that technology about what's changed. Change is like a tsunami. Change is like a tsunami. Have you ever seen film of tsunamis when they hit coastal areas? It's just like a big rushing wave of power and it carries everything with it forward. It picks up everything in its path and sweeps it along like a powerful force. That's what change is like. Now, how do you think you're going to fare fighting against that? So you're going to fight against the change like a tsunami wave. Guess what? You're going to lose every time. The tsunami's going to win. So when you resist change, you have two choices. When change happens rather. When change happens, you have two options. One option is you can cooperate and flow with the waves, flow with the tsunami. You can embrace it and flow along with it, or you can resist it. But think tsunami. What do you think is going to happen when you resist the tsunami? You're going to get swept along whether you want to or not, and it's going to be very, very painful trying to go against the tsunami instead of riding the waves of change and going with it. Number 3 thing I just want to remind you of is we typically have rose-colored glasses about the past, right? We have rose-colored glasses about the past. We remember things much better than they were. I was watching the documentary about New York City by Ken Burns recently, and it was all about the history from when the Dutch first discovered New York up until the present day. And there was a very rough period of time economically in the mid to late 70s for New York City, and Ed Koch was the mayor during that time, and he had gone down to the Jersey Shore to relax one afternoon with his wife and go to Coney Island, I think he said. And this lady came up to him and she had a tear in her eye. And she said, "Mayor Koch, make it like it was. Can you please make it like it was?" And very wisely, Mayor Koch said back to her, "My dear, it was never the way we think it was." And that's the way we view the past, is it was never quite like we remember it. We typically want to put a positive spin on it. We all batted 500 in high school when we played baseball. We all scored 50 points one game, right? It was all a little better than it really was in our memory. But the best leaders have learned to be future oriented and to not focus so much on the past. It's good to learn the lessons from the past. Those who don't learn the lessons from the past are doomed to repeat them, but don't stay in the past. Leaders have to be future focused and future oriented and embrace and promote change with enthusiasm. With enthusiasm. You don't have to like it, but you do have to get on board because the train is leaving the station. So I can't really remember. I'll give you one more point before we go to your homework. I can't really remember a time in my life when I didn't at least want a few things to be different and better. Can you? Were you always completely satisfied with the way things were? Or were there a few things you thought, well, I wish somebody would do something about that, or I wish somebody would come up with a new idea? I remember when I was a kid, I just wanted to be able to watch TV shows that I wanted to watch when I wanted to watch them. Well, we've overcome that challenge, haven't we? So change most of the time is good for you. And so when you learn to embrace it, when you learn to go with the flow, when you learn to ride the wave of change in a forward, positive momentum, your leadership is going to be a ton more effective than if you fight against it, if you try to resist the tsunami, if we have to drag you kicking and screaming. It's not going to be as effective as if you were proactive and you decided to go there yourself. What I want to ask you is a couple of questions for your homework. So put these in your journal. Next time you get confronted with change, I want to ask you to ask yourself some questions. Number one, why am I resisting this change? What am I doing to resist this change, and why am I doing it? Why have I got a problem with it? That'll help you a lot. I want you to ask yourself this question. Am I afraid of what might happen to me because of this change? Because a lot of times it's fear of the future, it's fear for ourselves, it's safety and security. Write those things down. Why am I so afraid of what might happen to me if I go along with this change? But even more importantly than that, here's the blockbuster home run question. What is the price I will pay or the consequence I will face if I decide not to cooperate with this change? Let me tell you that one again. What is the price I will pay or the consequence I will face if I decide not to cooperate with this change? Ask yourself those questions, journal about it, think about it, learn to embrace, learn to lead, and learn to promote change if you want to be a more effective leader.